Welcome to another episode of The Collective Perspective, virtual style. I'm here with Terence. So Terence, I think, before we start off, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Happy to be here. My name is Terence Tubridy. I am the founder and managing partner of IGC Hospitality. And we owned and operated 14 concepts in Manhattan and the Queens boroughs of New York City.
So, once you are open, is there going to be like a checklist of things that, your staff have to do, like checklist of the guests that have to do, what exact procedures do you think are going to be in place, once people are going through the doors?
Let's look at this as a counter-service model. Some restaurants might convert into a counter-service model. If New York City allows us to use the streets as our dining room, restaurants may be able to convert into a counter-service model where they'll come up and order. Our employees will have masks, gloves. It could potentially be a contactless ordering through a digital app or the website. You don't even have to actually speak to the server or to the host. But if you need to, you can. The takeaway menu items would be obviously it's not going to be reusable, right? So we have to look at what's the safest utensils, what's the safest smallwares that we can use, and then we're looking at that as like, how do you manage the garbage and making sure that we're being good neighbors to our outside block? There's so many different things that will transcend from this. Like, I'm sure the plastics industry is so happy right now because
they're back.
Yeah. We're back, but I think there's other ways that we can actually handle this without going into too much plastics as well, because who knows? Once we're able to weather this storm, our restaurants are about dining and about being served, and that nostalgia that you feel is a lot more. It's not just about the taste of the food. It's much more about how you feel and how you're welcomed and how you're coming in. Some restaurants, that's key to it. And having a server in a mask, even though it's the safest way to serve, might not be the best option to even open. A lot of owners and managers are weighing out the options to say, is it even worth opening at 25% or 50% occupancy? And every owner wants to do this safely for their employees and their customers. But as we always said, we need the support of our local, federal, and our partners like landlords and purveyors to get through this, or else we're not going to be there. And you're already starting to see the cards collapse. The more time we not waste, but the more time we sit and not think about the future and not have that light at the end of the tunnel, it gives us more time to say, do I really want to be in this business? Do I really want to go through? It was hard. It was almost nearly impossible to be successful before COVID. Yeah. Do I really want to jump into this now? And is this a good song exit? And I'm sure there's a ton of owners out there that are saying that to themselves, and that's okay. That's completely okay. No, you're not giving up. So for us, we are not giving up. We have to look at innovative ways that we can weather this temporary problem, and that temporary problem could be 3 months. It could be a year and a half. It could be 2 years, but I don't think we should flip the whole apple cart of the industry just because there's a virus that is that's causing obviously worldwide damage. We're going to get through this. We're going to manage this. Bars and taverns survived the Black Plague. They survived world wars. They're going to survive this.
In your opinion, what can other owners and businesses do to help weather the storm right now? You mentioned a couple other things they could do when they open, but is there anything now that can help? Anything that you've been doing? Anything that you could recommend?
So whatever debt you have or whatever bills outstanding you have to vendors, you should be communicating to them and potentially cutting deals if they're open to it. Hey, if you owe $10,000 to a purveyor, see if they'll do 50 cents on the dollar. See if they'll work with you on managing your cash flow. And then from there, you should be looking at how you could just manage your burn rate, right? Like, look at your weekly number of what it takes for you to manage or be open and how long you can last. And that gives you an idea. Okay, I will weather this storm for 6 months with just being closed and not taking on any employees or the employees that I have right now. That's what we've done at IGC. Our operations managers and finance manager has been key to saying, look, it costs Park Avenue Tavern X to stay open, and we have Z in our bank account, and we have an 8-month time period to stay to be in this holding period, and that's good to know, because then we know, all right, this is how we can manage it. This is when we know that we have to open for delivery. This is when we have to start hiring people back, because it's all about preserving cash in this environment, because the amount of money it's going to take to reopen is as important to what the amount of money that you're saving now.
All right. So, you own a bunch of spaces, and in those spaces you have big venues, right? So you're probably doing a lot of events. I know you touched upon opening restaurants, but what do you think events are going to look like? Weddings, are we going to be able to host weddings in 2020? Are we going to be able to put 300 people, 400 people in a room? And then any idea of what procedures might look like hosting events, hosting large number of people?
I'm no expert, but what I think we're looking at, obviously something that's going to come back faster than corporate buyouts or corporate events is social events, right? People are always going to want to celebrate a wedding or a family celebration. So I know certain catering halls that we're still holding dates for August. If we could host them safely, we're going to host them. So what does that look like? Do we have outdoor venues? Are we still doing banquet tables? Or are we looking at, high top tables that it's more of a mobile? Are we cutting down on the number of attendees? Is the person, what kind of age group is this? Reception displays, right? Remember how you could just go up to a buffet and grab a piece, to hummus. So there'll probably be individually wrapped servings of get innovative, right? Get fun. White Castle burgers with your name, with the bride and groom's name on it. Lunch boxes that are from old school when you were at grade school. I think there's ways that we could get innovative and fun about it, and also protect the consumer and protect our guests. I think it goes back to what are we looking at as far as like what kind of event does somebody want to have and protect, and then us as operators. Well, maybe we shouldn't have a DJ and dancing going on. Maybe it should just be an acoustic guitar player, and then we should be looking at some individual games that we can do at table side. So again, I think it's there are going to be creative ways, because we're not going to stop people from hosting their celebrations. So we'd much rather do it in a safer way in these venues than them doing it at their homes or in the street, which potentially will happen. I mean, we're already seeing that in some parts of the country, right?
So with so many venues that you do have, and I follow a lot of the stuff that you put out, your Facebooks, and you still seem like a very positive guy. I mean, you always have everything that I've seen you do, and you still seem like that now with all the craziness, all the venues that you like. How do you personally stay sane through all this? I mean, what are you doing? What's your daily routine? Or, do you have a method to your madness?
We go back to our IGC. We have an orientation at IGC where we talk about our core values. It's this 4H, right? Human, hospitable, hunger, and humility. For us, and for me especially, it starts with gratitude. And if I'm going down into a dark hole and there's been a ton relevancy, right? Are we even relevant? Are restaurants even important right now? All of these things, like I've let my consumer down. I've let my staff down. What did I do? I mean, you're talking about some dark places. So, and it's not just me. I think every single entrepreneur, restaurateur that has gone through this. How do you come out of it? You come out of it knowing that tomorrow is another day, that the sun's going to come up, and that let's be grateful for what we have. I have 2 beautiful, healthy children, right? I have a beautiful family, and that I have a great partner. I have great partners that are supportive, that work just as hard as I do. That's how we get through it. Looking at this as opportunity always. And I know it's really hard. We've lost a lot of people. We all know somebody that has passed away from this horrible disease. But if we can look at this as saying, what's some positive things that can come out of this, and what can we look for towards the future, and live day to day in the present, we're going to be okay. What we've done on our social media strategy is say, all right, so how do we stay relevant in people's lives? In Good Company is important. Parker and Quinn, the restaurant that is still open, and Bungalow Bar is important to people's lives. Why? Because they celebrate the most important parts of their lives there. There's an acronym that we pass along. It's called WIN, right? WIN. What's important now? And so again, when you go back into this dark hole, you go and say, well, thinking about that right now, that's not what's important now. What's important now is hugging Braden, my son, or what's important now is on the phone with you and doing this call and letting other people know, yo, we're all feeling it, and you're not alone. And yeah, perception in the social media world is not reality. But what we can do is support each other and know that, like, if you need help, let's help each other. Let's be there for each other. What can come out of this is that that there's a certain humanity to all of us, and that we're all important in some way.
That's beautiful. No, I love it. Thanks for rambling, man. It was great. I mean, you gave a lot of insight to your mind and how it works. And there are people that are struggling, and it's hard for them to find any positivity in it, and someone like yourself who has so many venues, operating so many venues, that you could easily be super depressed and look at all the bad, and you choose to take an optimistic look at it. And I think it's amazing. Listen, I appreciate your time in doing this and taking the time and speaking to the industry, and people look up to you, and it's nice that you're always giving back and you're sharing. This was another episode of the Collective Perspective, virtual style. We'll see you all next time.